just want to make it clear on the record that we have 30 minutes. Please, let's get the facts. If you want it to be heard tonight, if not, it will have to be heard next month. So, this was it.
Would you like to call the case?
Yes, the case coming in front of the board tonight is C-08-13, 17-719 Monroe Avenue, Aurelio Marks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Stephen Hale from Hale & Hale, representing Aurelio Marcus. Mr. Chairman and board members, we were here several months ago for this application. We completed our presentation. We had Mr. Barrett testify as to the layout and relief that was being sought. And then we had our professional planner, John Cavallo, provide planning groups in connection with the application. When there were some comments from neighbors, there was a question with respect to what was originally approved by the municipality, what currently existed, and then what was proposed. So what Mr. Ware did is he did a plan showing those three stages, and we did get a review letter from November 13th from Tony Gallerano, from our consultants, commenting on this. So I will indicate again that the board departments had recommended the adoption of this application. But what I'd like to do is have Ms. Ware briefly comment upon this revised plan and submit it to the board. And recall, this is converted an existing structure which is in place. There's very little by way of improvements that are proposed, just the utilization of the structure as it essentially as it exists.
What I did is request a board question in the last hearing. We added additional information to the sheet, primarily to the sheet. The second page is G00A. On that sheet, which is the second drawing, on the left side is the site plan as it was originally filed for the building permit to construct the building. The center site plan is what's actually physically built, and the right-hand side plan is some slight modifications as are proposed to that existing site plan. So the difference is, I can talk about briefly the differences between each other. On the extreme left-hand plan is the plan that was originally submitted to the construction department. The building footprint essentially is the same. The park area, the paving area, municipal paving area at the rear of the home was actually done somewhat larger. The garage that was originally submitted permit was 24 feet wide, and the building is 28 feet wide. All this work that was done in the house and the garages that were basically was inspected. It went through the normal building permit process, instructions, and it has a seal.
You have a copy.
What didn't happen is that while the garage was shown originally as 24 feet, built at 28, still noted as a two-car garage, but it was slightly bigger than the permitted set. In theory, the square footage of it did exceed, back then it was 33%, and which would have given them 500 something feet. It's actually built at 616 feet, so 33% is actually 42%, so it's a very. On the extreme right-hand side, all we're proposing to do is extend the blacktop slightly to park the black lines, so these cars can turn around and get out of it. There's 3 cars in the garage, 3 cars in the front, 3 cars in the front, can back into that area behind the house and come out. And the other fundamental thing on that right-hand drawing is a new stairway being proposed on the rear of the house, which gives each of the apartments a second way out. Then I'm going to move to the third floor plan, which is sheet 5 of 7, G101. And it's basically the same thing there. The extreme right-hand plan is the drawing that was submitted to the construction department for the building permit. During the construction process, there were some changes made, the city inspected that, and a CO again was issued. It was not, and the CO was issued as a two-family, not a three. So it was never the intent of the construction department to make this a separate apartment on the third floor. Now the walls, I understand, to be put in as additional support to the roof structure, but it's still only, it's supposed to be a two-family house. What the third plan on the right shows in those black lines is the modifications that we are now liking to the third floor if we have a bedroom. We're proposing to add closets into the rooms, subdivide a larger room into two separate rooms, and build a new stair on the back of the house. So most of the changes are internal, with the exception of that rear stair. That's maybe a summary of the building permit plan, what actually got built, and what we're proposing.
Thank you. And again, Mr. Guerrero testified in detail at the first hearing as to variances associated with the application, layout, exterior, etc.
Commissioners, any comments from Mr. Guerrero?
Mr. Guerrero,
Commissioner Lewis?
you're proposing a set of exterior rear stairs on this property.
Right.
Is that to meet a certain fire code so that you don't have to put in sprinklers, or I mean, what's the point of it?
Just additional safety.
Safety. Okay.
We could do it without. You know, it's a three-story building like this. Three families could have one stair. This would be making a safety building.
Why?
You would have to just go back to the sprinkler issue. Third floor apartment would be sprinkled. When you convert from a two-family to a three-family, that third apartment, you don't have to redo the whole building, but the third apartment will be sprinkled.
This one will be sprinkled.
Yes.
Commissioners, additional questions? Square, I have a question. On your CO, does it state, do you have a CO for the third apartment, kitchen and bathroom?
There is no third floor. And the CO is a two-family house. And the third floor is supposed to be called the second floor apartment. It's not a two-family. The CO is for two-family. That's probably here.
So the second floor is in conjunction with the third floor as additional space?
That's correct.
That's the way it was proposed.
What we heard tonight was.
Now you're going to make it completely separate.
Right.
Apartment.
That's the intent for tonight.
Okay.
But seeing the second kitchen, second bathroom, and the applicant stated that they did receive a CO, not for the third one.
I don't know when we went there, it was long after it was built. It was like, I don't know when the CO was issued. If that, I doubt that was still.
But the CO included the partitions.
Third, yes, the partitions, they are not, I don't believe the kitchen is built out like that.
Commissioners, any other questions? Please proceed.
Thank you. I'd like to briefly recall John Lee Vallow testified at the first hearing.
You just solemnly swear that testimony you're giving is the truth and nothing but the truth. I do. Name and address for the record. Leon Paul, 388 Washington Road, Lakeville, New Jersey.
Mr. Lamb, previously qualified as an expert in this application or testimony. If you could briefly comment, we have to show, I think this one ran out of juice. If you could briefly comment on the revised plans that were submitted to the board and the review letter that was received from Harbor Consultants.
I reviewed those documents and compared them. My purpose here tonight is to quickly just go over with you my impression and my professional opinion as to how this project fits into the area. As I drove through the area a number of times, and I drove through this afternoon again, what affects me or hits me is the building mass of the building in question is very similar to all the buildings that are in that area, from Adams Street to Monroe to Madison, because all those buildings were pre-war buildings where they had 2 stories for 2-story or 2-family uses, and then had a high attic back in the early days prior to World War II, or way before that. You had windows on the attic area so that you could see, get ventilation. That's how they did it. What that does is present a mass, building mass, that was very similar to the building. And those are 2, I know most of the buildings are 2 families in that area, on the streets I just mentioned. So that's one thing. So the building fits in very well from a visual perspective and from a mass perspective. It's under the height requirement of at least 3 stories. Next, the number of buildings that are not 2 families. There are a number of buildings that are 3 families and 4 families. Most of them, 4 families are North Avenue, and then the 3 families are south of the property, and there's 1 3-family north of the property, adjacent to the parking lot, which is associated, I believe, with the Blessed Sacrament Church and school annex. So there are a number of 3 families in the area. It's not a great percentage, but it is a percentage of them. Also, there's a number of mixed uses on the corners of Louisa and Monroe, Valencia restaurant. Well, there is a 3-family. So there are a number in the neighborhood. It's a good infill for the property. There is a story there. It can be utilized. Most of your policies in your master plan talk about improving properties, your housing element in the 2006 master plan, about improving utility of the property and increasing values of property. Certainly, that is one of the ramifications from this. There's no change in the site plan at all. The building is there, the garage is there, it provides adequate parking. It's centrally located also within a 10-minute walk of that property. You can be at the train station, you can be at North Avenue, you can be south, you can almost be to Route 109 to pick up a bus over there. It's very centralized to intermodal transportation, which is important. And then finally, it does need to promote your master plan goals and objectives and the ones stated in your housing plan. So for all those reasons, I feel, my professional building opinion, this building as it exists and what is proposed, becoming 3-family, fits in well with the neighborhood, and also does not substantially create a public detriment and is not substantially impairing the zoning ordinance and the zoning plan.
And at the first hearing, you testified much more detail in the first hearing, you testified much more detail as to the positive, negative criteria. Do you
As I spoke prior to this meeting.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Mr. Lane Cavallo, at this time.
Commissioners, questions to the planner? Before the planner?
We have no further witnesses at this time.
Are there any members in the audience who wish to testify regarding the application? If so, please step forward one at a time, state your name and address for the record.
Gary Johnson, do you solemnly swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Have a seat. Put yourself up on the microphone, state your name, spell it, and give your address, please.
Lawrence Ferrera, Ferrera, 731 Monroe Avenue, Elizabeth.
Mr. Ferrer, for the record, your neighbor.
I'm going to use for house.
Okay, please proceed.
This is just a great little history. This is our fourth time here for this over 5 months. We started with 5 neighbors that were opposed to this, and over the period of time, their numbers have diminished, but their opposition to this request has not diminished. This applicant had originally proposed this building as a 2-family, and the entire 3rd floor was to be used and accessed from the 2nd floor dwelling as a recreational area. Soon after getting the C of O, the staircase was reconfigured in the main hallway in the front to make it a 3rd floor apartment. All the plumbing had already been stubbed in before the C of O's, behind the walls, the electrical was there, everything was ready to go. This was anticipated from the day they started this project. When they were called on this staircase reconfiguration, the city changed it back around again and reconfigured it to access from the 2nd floor unit. Not long after that, they reconfigured it again to go to the 3rd floor. Soon after they were approached on that, they then came to this board again with an application after the building was built for bulk and offset variances, and the language of that application said for an existing 3-family building. A little trick that made you come here, get some variance for a bulk, and walk out of here with a 3-family house. The city attorney was made aware of it, Mike Massey at the time was made aware of it, they stopped it before it came to me. In fact, I came here and I was asked to leave because it was already stopped by that night. And here we are again. After everything else failed under the cover of darkness, the applicant now tries to do it right. As the second word councilman so eloquently said, it's a bad city. Let people do all these things, be stopped time and time again, and then come here and try to do it right and walk away with what they want to in the first place. I also submit that had this been done properly in the first place, the staircase that we're talking about, that's going to be an eyesore to neighboring houses, would have been within the footprint of the building. It wouldn't have been something appendage off the back of the building. So now this is a family type neighborhood. 2-family residents, we have backyards, we have lawn, we have barbecue, we have family picnics. And to look at the staircase in the back of the house turns a nice, quiet neighborhood into an inner city. Fire escapes, whatever. Not a pretty sight. We're talking about a building that already is 30 to 50% larger than the surrounding area. As I gentleman said, it's the same. It's not. My house is 20 by 50. 2 houses next to me were 1 family that were converted to 2 families. They're little tiny houses. The house right next door to that is a much smaller house. The house actually stands out in the neighborhood. With regards to the parking, I can park 20 cars in my neighborhood. I'm not even trying to get a 10-family house. This parking lot is big enough for 20 cars, but the applicant, a few cases back, 1-family house. She had 4 cars, 2 quads, bikes, and all sorts of things. So after you put 3 families in this house, who's to say how many vehicles are going to be around? Regardless of what kind of transportation is in the neighborhood. Then you have companies and families and everything else. This neighborhood already suffers with the expansions that have been made at the corner of Monroe and Louisa. So many houses in this neighborhood have no driveways because they were built in the 1900s. Nobody had cars. Residents in this town can't even park on the same block now during the time when these restaurants are open, let alone in front of our house. And to add more to this is irresponsible. Aside from that, there's no positive criteria. This is an R2 neighborhood. 2-family residential. Now, I understand going from a non-conforming use into a conforming use, going from a non-conforming use of one type into a better non-conforming use of another type for the betterment of the community. It doesn't exist yet. To look at other three-family houses that were here before the zoning was made is ludicrous. They were there pre-existing. To say we can make this one a three-family house because there are others just gives that much more ammunition to the next applicant that comes here and says, well, there's another one there. Why can't I? Why don't we just take the zoning maps and pull them out at that point? It's ludicrous. There's no positive criteria, all sorts of negative criteria. The only benefit here is for the bottom line of the applicant who has tried to circumvent the system from the day he bought this property. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrera. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Ferrera? Mr. Ferrera, I have a question. You mentioned that this gentleman or the applicant pre-installed plumbing and so on. How did he know?
I constructed 40 years of the four houses in life.
The question is, how did you know that? Did you see it?
I watched the building go up from the day it went up. And I remember saying to myself that to keep a pre-existing building.
Okay, let's just get that. I just want to, you
Yes,
saw
I
that.
was there for the whole time.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, any other additional questions?
I actually have a question.
Commissioner Lewis.
Mr. Ferrer, you mentioned something about the expansion of the blacktop or driveway in the back. You have a problem with that?
No.
You said something about cars and the amount of
Oh,
cars.
no. It was one of the first meetings we had here. Positive criteria was that he had parking, off-street parking for a number of vehicles. And my argument is, that's fine, but like, I have a two-family house, and I can park at least 20 cars in my driveway. That doesn't mean I can put a 10-family house up. Just because you have adequate parking, that is not positive criteria to circumvent the zoning law.
Thank you very much.
Actually, I
Commissioner Lewis.
apologize. I apologize. So do you think it's a negative? Let me just try to, and I'm just trying to use your thinking process here. And I'm not saying that this is the case or not, but let's just say that this gentleman is using this as an illegal three-family home. First of all, the city is being circumvented in terms of the amount of taxes that we're getting. And not to mention all of the other safety issues that, that are occurring. Don't you think it would be better for the area that he's actually getting this legalized? He's going to pay the taxes he should be paying. He's going to be using the property in a safe manner. He's going to be able to conform with all the standards that the construction department will impose upon him at that point. I mean, as far as, and now we're just talking about the betterment of the neighborhood here. If I had a guy next door to me using a two-family house as a rooming house, and he came before the city and he goes, oh, listen, I'm going to change it from a rooming house to a three-family. Well, listen, I'd rather have a three-family in my neighborhood than have a rooming house. But I'm just trying to put it into perspective here. I mean, from your perspective, and you're here in front of our board talking about what's better for the neighborhood, do you feel that him coming before the board and saying, okay, fine, I give in, regardless of what's happened in the past, but saying, hey, okay, fine, I'm going to pay my taxes, it's going to be done safely, things are going to be done right. And at that point, then he can be held, okay, to the standards of a three-family home. Meaning, whatever that may mean in terms of the green card from the state, the so on and so on and so forth. And don't you think that it would be a better position, a better environment for the residents than it is?
No.
How legal?
Absolutely not. For the betterment of the community, it should be a two-family residential as it is zoned.
But you said he's using it as a
No,
as
not
an illegal
now.
structure.
He tried doing that from day one.
Right.
He's not using it to my knowledge, he's not using it as an illegal three-family at this point.
But he did.
He tried to several times.
Okay.
By reconfiguring steps and making the improvements.
Okay.
I.e. the kitchen. So it should be a two-family residential. Rentables are not a positive criteria.
No, I'm not using that as a method in order to get to, approving the application. I'm using your words in order to put the application into perspective from a community standpoint.
Right.
You're using, you continue to use terms like a positive impact and so on and so forth, positive criteria. So we're going to try to use that positive criteria of what he's doing here today, or the opposite, which is what he was doing before, is using it as an illegal three-family house. So
I never said
and that's really what's here before our board. And again, I understand exactly what you're saying. I'm with you. I'm just trying to figure out how to better serve the community. How are we going to get to the point where the community as a whole is better? And not one person is going to be able to dictate that from the root reason of having the betterment of a community.
To answer that, I would say that this is an R2 zone. That community is people that want to live in a two-family residential area.
Right, but the R2 zone, though, contains, and I own property in this area, 4 families and 3 families.
Pre-existing.
I'm sorry?
Pre-existing.
Yes, yeah, but it's still an R2 zone.
I understand that, but the reason for the zoning map and the reason for this panel is to enforce that zoning map.
No, not to enforce the zoning map. The job of the zoning board is to take applications, and I'm going to again use your words. You mentioned before that because the guy next door has a 3-family, I'm going to build a 3-family. There's no application that can come before this board and use that excuse. Every single application that comes before this board stands on its own merits.
Then
And
why
no
don't-
one can
then why
say
don't we talk
here.
about comparables?
I'm sorry?
Then why are we talking about comparables and what's next door and what's on North Avenue? And you just said yourself that in your neighborhood there's 2 and 4 families. Why are we speaking about that if none of them count?
Sorry, guys, it's 11 o'clock, I'm tired, and you're keep batting it around. Say what you just said again.
Why would we be speaking about 4 families in your neighborhood or using comparables to justify this dwelling if they don't count?
Again, I'm not trying to justify anything.
The bottom line, and I agree with this gentleman here, is late. It's a 2-family zone. He tried to do it all wrong through all this, and he shouldn't be rewarded for this. To put staircase in the back of this would be an eyesore to the surrounding neighbors. You sit in your backyard, look at these steps. If you would have done it right in the first place, put the egress within the footprint of the building, we might have been having a different discussion.
Commissioners, any additional questions? Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Thank you, good night.
Thank you. By the way, Mr. Chairman, based upon the comments of the aesthetics, and I knew the hour is late, but the applicant would have no problem if aesthetics are an issue to eliminate that rear staircase. The 3rd floor is going to be sprinkled anyway, and it was an additional factor that was being added. There's no objection to removing that.
Commissioners, any comments concerning the staircase possibly being removed because of sprinklers?
So actually, the applicant is proposing the removal of the staircase.
No, the applicant basically said they're okay with removing it to satisfy the neighbors. Not so much a request, but he stated that it would be a different conversation. So it might be less than an eyesore to the neighbors.
I agree with that.
And we would so amend the application and plans, if the board was so inclined to grant the application, no problem with that being a condition of approval.
Are there any other members of the audience who wish to testify regarding the application? If so, please step forward, one at a time, and state your name and address for the record. Before we go into our closed session, Mr. Galvin, comments, please. No comments? Thank you. Gentlemen, commissioners,
Mr. Chairman,
before you say anything, I just want to make it clear that the only commissioners that can vote tonight on this application are the ones that heard the initial meeting, because you heard the full testimony.
Mr. Chairman, how many months ago was that? I mean, I think we'll have to refresh the memory.
I was here.
Yeah, I mean, you were here, right? I think you were here. Castro was here. Bathos, were you there? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I wasn't here.
You weren't here?
I can't tell you, I don't know what
They said July.
they said July.
July 18th.
You recall this meeting? Commissioner?
I don't show you that.
Actually, it was in July.
Well, does that one put on record that we only have 5 commissioners?
Yeah, I think what might make sense in council, since it's a use variance, we need 5 affirmative votes. I would say that perhaps prudence would dictate that we should carry the vote in next month's meeting to just confirm the commissioners that were here available.
Then the ones that were not here, they're not here today's testimony, right?
Right.
I'm sure we need to
We're always with
provide,
5.
It's gonna be fine.
we would have to provide them with a transcript. Let me just, if I could have 1 second to discuss that with my plan.
Mr. Chairman, I think that what Mr. Ellis is proposing is probably the proper thing to do, understanding that now these plans need to be revised. So,
Well, they need to keep in mind that they would have to create a transcript for the commissioners that are not here today.
no, I understand, but what I'm saying is, I'm understanding that Mr. Hell is proposing to carry this application to the next hearing, to the next meeting, then the issue of the staircase can be addressed and the blueprints modified.
That's not a problem.
So we come here.
We would get a copy of the transcript of tonight's proceedings. What we can do, I can discuss with Mark, see who was at the July meeting, see who was here tonight, compare it, so we have 7 voting members at the next meeting.
So technically, what we do here is your, is that the case?
That the proceedings are still closed, and it's just for the vote, but I would just make sure, I think we probably should make sure who was here at both meetings, and whoever was missing, we can supply a transcript that they can read and just make sure.
I hope that they read it before.
Oh, they have to sign, Sharon knows they have to sign the certification.
Be careful. Unless you want to, right now, unless you want us to go on the fly. Keep in mind, you can legal.
Well aware of that. Yeah, I think the whole stay safe, because we also want to make sure that everybody says,
The commissioners were okay with that? The applicant basically is agreeing to create a transcript, come back next meeting. At that point, we will vote.
With the new set of plans?
if you want.
With the new.
If that's not a problem, we'll submit it.
I'm not saying to do that, I thought that was the idea because of the stairs.
It's on record that they do agree that the stairs can be removed. If they do not need a set of stairs.
That's fine.
It's one of our requirements that we should put it on record, or we should have it submitted.
We'll submit it. That's not a problem.
Okay. Commissioners, then yes, they will be submitting a new set of plans and a transcript next meeting.
And we'll coordinate with Mark on that.
Okay, Mr. Governor.
Certainly.
Commissioner, okay with that?
Yes.
Commissioner Castro, there's another item on the agenda.
Oh, yes, sorry. Have a great night. Thank you for staying so late.
This is a resolution on the agenda because we need a conference council. We have an application, I think it was EP, which we represent the applicant in another municipality, so we just want the board to, we've used Mark Brown in the past as a conference council for this one application, so it's just a resolution to have him appointed for the year so that if anything else comes up at this one application, he can sit in my place. So if everybody says the vote's okay, then we would send them a contract.
And this is somebody that you guys picked to.
No, well, he's been doing it in the past, I don't know how he came about, to tell you the truth.
Oh, all right, no, okay.
Commissioners?
Motion to approve. Motion to approve.
Excuse me.
Commissioner Lewis?
One second. I just need to understand it before I vote. What is this, I'm sorry,
zoning gives a canopy for a gas.
Okay, but the attorney that is representing this applicant is not an attorney opinion.
No.
Okay, that's all I want.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
Yeah, I think
it's just we can't,
I
we need
understand.
another attorney to sit here
just in case there's a conflict.
From another law.
from another, totally different.
We have a yes. Commissioner Nunes, second, please.
Yes.
Second.
Second, Commissioner. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hernandez.
Aye.
Commissioner Castro.
Aye.
Commissioner Newman.
Aye.
Commissioner Eby, I'm sorry, she left. Commissioner Donovan. Commissioner Galvez. Commissioner Metellus. Vice Chairman Gonzalez. Commissioner Metellus.
Commissioner Bettles.
Aye.